Eclipse periods can be exceptionally confusing, but they also provide you with a profound amount of opportunity. I'd like to help you to clear the smoke and establish a strong path forward for the months ahead. All you need to do is schedule in one of my Empower Hour consultations. You'll find the link to those just above if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're listening to this in my podcast, you'll either find it in the navigation menu on my site or hopefully somewhere near the post. So here's the situation. It's time for you to take the high road in a situation that's been stretching on for far longer than it really should have. For whatever reason, there's been resistance in this particular situation, either from your side or another party in the situation. But it's reaching a point where to continue forward in this particular way is going to equate with an opportunity passing you by. And that opportunity would relate to a good window of time to create long overdue change. So here's the thing, either in creating this change or maybe you've been avoiding this change, there's a really strong need at the moment for you to not be headstrong in a situation, unless you're being headstrong because your heart knows that you're being headstrong in the right way. Maybe that's just a polite way of saying, look, don't be stubborn or be an idiot in this situation just because you feel a need to prove a point. This is not about proving points. This is ultimately about doing what's right. This is about taking the high road. This is about doing something that, well, perhaps one part of you might have been reluctant to do prior, but in the back of your mind, there's been a nagging little voice that's been going, maybe this way is the right way. Maybe I've just been resisting something because I wanted something to turn out in a particular way. Now, I know change is really difficult. Sometimes we fear change. The human mind quite often equates the concept of change with something very similar to death. We fear it because we don't know what's on the other side of that massive threshold that we're getting ready to step across. And in stepping across that threshold, once we do, there is no turning back. And so what happens is we map out the destination that our mind thinks a certain state of affairs will go in if we cross that threshold, when perhaps that's not the way that it's going to go at all. You see, in life, quite often it's more about the journey than it is about the destination. But we're so destination focused. We're so attached to an outcome or attached to avoiding a particular outcome that we think things will turn out a certain way if we head in a particular direction. And when eclipse time hits, that can feel a little more dramatic than usual. So let's talk a little bit about eclipses. Eclipses are when you have either a new moon, which would equate to a solar eclipse when the new moon is close in proximity to one of the nodes, Rahu or Ketu, or if you are not familiar with the terminology, the north node or the south node. And a lunar eclipse would happen when it's a full moon in close proximity to one of the nodes. And these periods of time are very powerful. Sometimes they don't bring like immediate change that's connected with the eclipse itself, but what they do is they establish a pattern for the next several months to come, because eclipse periods generally happen every 6 months, and they always come in pairs. You will always have a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse within 2 weeks of each other. Sometimes the lunar eclipse happens first. In this particular instance, the solar eclipse happens first. And sometimes you even get 3 eclipses dependent upon the proximity of the sun and the moon to one of the nodes. So now that we've got Astronomy 101 out of the way, let's get back to the situation that we're talking about. So I imagine you're listening to this and you're going, "Oh my goodness, this is going to be massive. This is going to be big." You know what? It is big in as much as you're being big, right? I'll repeat that. It is big in as much as you're being big. What do I mean by that? Okay. Sometimes we have to, as I was saying at the beginning, go with the high road in a situation. Sometimes we have to take a choice, make a choice, I should say, that's bigger than one part of us would like to do. What do I mean by bigger? I don't mean it's a big decision necessarily, but I mean it requires us to be more strongly behind our ethics and more strongly behind our beliefs about what is right. Now, when you're doing that, you're not being headstrong in terms of what I mean when I say headstrong. Okay, you're being headstrong because your heart knows what's right. But sometimes we get into these mindsets where our ego thinks that it knows what's best, right? When it's making decisions from either a selfish point of view or a point of view that's not really thinking of the bigger picture. And in this particular situation, you need to think of the bigger picture. It's not that, going back to the drawing board and trying the same outcome only, with rejoined components is actually going to fix the situation. Instead, you're looking at one of those moments where you're going, here is a choice. Here is a choice for something to go in a different direction. All I have to do is decide inside of myself that this is the way that it needs to go and make that commitment. And here's the tricky bit. And let the universe work out the rest, whatever you choose to call the universe, whether it's a higher power, whatever word, fill in the blank at that particular part of this video, whatever it is that you choose to call it. Let it be sorted for you. Your part of the bargain in this situation is simply committing to what you know inside of yourself is right. And it's high time for you to take the high road in this particular situation. Do it, and down the road, you won't regret doing so. And if you could use a little bit of assistance with this crossroads, whatever that crossroads might be about for you, please feel free to schedule in one of my Empower Hour consultations. You'll find those at the link that you'll see above, or if you're listening to this on my podcast, it will be somewhere near the podcast itself. That's going to do it for this look at the full moon lunar eclipse in Bharani Nakshatra, which takes place on the 8th of November, 2022. Until next time, please do take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.